Okay, so I totally lied in my last video when I said I wasn't going to make another Stellar Blade video, but I also wasn't expecting them to drop 2 new outfits that are similar to the uncensored outfits that everybody's been complaining about. But before I jump into that, if you're one of the people that does not hate my guts when I talk about Stellar Blade, hit that subscribe button because 99% of you are not subscribing, but you're watching. And come on, help me get to that 1,000 mark, please. Now, since I got so much hate from my last video, I'm gonna do things a little bit differently this time around and just ask a bunch of questions because apparently I don't know anything. But before I jump into that, I should mention everything that came in the new patch with 103. In this new patch for Stellar Blade, players got the Boss Battle Challenge game mode and 5 new outfits, 2 of which you get instantly, which are these 2 right here, and 2 others that you can buy from Roxanne, which are the new Uncensored outfits. The last outfit I believe you get from completing the Boss Battle Challenge, but I haven't done that yet, so I can't confirm. And with this new information, I'm very curious on what the new narrative is going forward, because literally nothing has changed from what I've talked about in my last 2 videos. Except that we have 2 new outfits that are similar to the uncensored ones, which brings up the question is, why would Sony do this if they want censorship? If I had to take a shot in the dark, I feel like people are gonna say that Sony showed us an uncensored game to get the pre-orders up, and then for some reason at the last second they made the game censored, and then, when they saw the backlash that everybody was talking about the game being censored, they decided to make 2 new outfits to please those people, but now they still don't have to go back on their word of saying that the game was uncensored. In my personal opinion, I feel like that's just a lot of hoops to jump through to maintain the censorship narrative, but that's why I'm asking the people that know better to let me know what the whole narrative is going forward, because the leader of this whole thing is declaring victory with these new outfits. Grum stated on Twitter that this movement has won because of these new outfits, but a lot of his subjects don't seem to agree. Which, I mean, good for them, because as I mentioned previously, nothing has changed, so I'm really confused why Grums would consider this a W, but at the same time, I feel like this is the closest he's going to get to victory, and that's why he's claiming it. Moving on from that, I do have a couple of questions for the uncensored crowd, because one thing I heard a lot during this whole thing was the way you can tell some outfits were censored is because the outfits have parts of the outfit that look painted on, and that showcases how the thing was censored. Although I do want to kind of just put a little bit of information there that there's really no proof of that, because that's how they came and that's how they are on 1.0. But, you know, just saying, that's what a lot of people are saying you can tell that they're censored. Well, since my last video, I've actually been able to play the game a lot more and have been able to see some of these claims up close. And although I choose to believe that the devs are telling the truth, that doesn't mean that I think that their design choices were great. Because if I'm being honest, the gray bunny suit does look pretty ugly. But when it comes to the blue moon suit, which this was one of the outfits that people said the outfit looked like it was painted on, I noticed that in certain lighting, it looks bad, but in other lighting, it looks normal. So as I mentioned a bunch in other videos, I feel like this is some kind of rendering or graphical issue. It's definitely not painted on in my opinion, because you can see textures on the outfit. I do also want to point out that I was hoping to have the ocean-made outfit by now, but it's taken me a long time to catch those damn fish, so I'm not able to really showcase that from my point of view in this video, unfortunately. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the reason why people believe that this is painted on is because people have said that this was an order from Sony at the last second, and these are basically rushed designs or rushed censorship, and that's why they look so bad or quote-unquote censored. Oh, and just to make this clear, because it came up a lot in the comments, I never once said that Sony has never censored a game. I'm just choosing to believe the devs, and I don't see a lot of evidence to call censorship here. That's kind of why I've been making my videos. I'm not here saying that Sony has never censored a game ever. Just want to point that out. But I have to say, all of the new outfits look pretty great, especially the uncensored ones. They are extremely detailed, just like the other outfits, and if I'm being honest, this Midsummer Red outfit beats the shit out of that gray bunny suit. And if you think about it, the gray bunny suit is pretty plain compared to the rest of the outfits in the game, which makes me think maybe that's why they added stuff to it, but that's just me. My next question is, if you believe the outfits were made in response to the backlash, how quickly were they made? The reason I ask that is because a lot of people say that Sony has to approve everything in the updates in advance before they go live, which that just seems pretty obvious because, well, obviously they're the publisher, they have to okay everything that is in their games. But since Sony is a big corporation, things aren't just going to get approved instantly, especially if it's the Japan branch of Sony, because I hear Japan takes forever. Everything's got to be in writing. You got to approve that shit. I hear it takes forever. So if that's the case, these outfits would have had to been in production probably a few weeks ago, because they would have had to design it, put it in game, and then playtest it. Is what I assume. I don't make video games, so I can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, that takes actually fucking 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure there are some indie game developers out there that can probably change an outfit in a matter of hours or seconds or whatever. But indie game devs are very different than big corporations. There's a lot more freaking red tape you have to go through when it comes to a corporation game. With that information, it's possible that these outfits were just actually in production, maybe even before the game launched. And I'm not just pulling this out of my ass, because the same kind of thing is happening with Helldivers 2. With all of the drama they had, the CEO mentioned that they were going to give players a new cape in honor of the review bombing, and he even showed a sneak peek of it. But I checked my game before recording this video, and I still don't have that cape, and it's nearly 3 weeks since he mentioned it. So I assume he might just be waiting on approval to launch that. But at the same time, Stellar Blade is literally a month old from launch today, and, you know, it just makes me think that if they have to wait for approval and it might take 3 weeks or maybe more, they were probably working on this stuff beforehand. And if that's the case, maybe the devs were actually telling the truth. Let's move on to my last question, which is, if Sony originally censored this game, why would they be okay with these outfits now? It's easy to assume that people would just say that it's because of the backlash, but then why not just uncensor these censored outfits? Also, if I'm not mistaken, Stellar Blade was the #1 selling game in Japan, and it's doing well enough to the point where they're discussing a PC port and Stellar Blade 2 already. So I don't think the backlash was big enough to overshadow the success of the game, and if anything, it probably helped, because I know a few gamers that will buy games in spite of people complaining about them. For full transparency, I'm one of those people, although I bought Stellar Blade because I wanted to, but back in the day when the game Hatred came out and they were like, this is too violent for children, I bought the fuck out of that shit. So yeah, I just have to ask the uncensored crowd. Make it make sense to me, because apparently with my last video, I was very wrong to you people. Oh, and before I go, I want to ask one more thing. Can someone find me another instance where Eve is covered in blood like this photo? Because I've only seen that much blood in that photo, which makes me wonder why the hell they even did that in the demo. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. If you guys want to see me play Stellar Blade, check out my Twitch channel. But if not, don't forget your daily dose of juice.